Today we are talking about a subject that may seem sensitive at first glance but deserves our full attention: the personality traits of people who have few or no friends. And no, this is not about weaknesses or problems. Quite the opposite. We will discover that such people often possess extraordinary qualities that set them apart from the crowd. In a society obsessed with social networks and follower accounts, one tends to believe that having many friends is a sign of success. But is that really the case? Have you ever noticed that many of the most remarkable people in history were loners? In this video, I will reveal 5 fascinating character traits that people who have no or only a few friends often share. And believe me, after this video, you will see loneliness with completely different eyes. The first trait that a lack of friends can reveal is authenticity. We live in a world that constantly tells us who to be. Every scroll, every post, every perfectly curated image whispers, "This is what happiness looks like. This is how you should live." But those who walk a quieter path, the ones who often find themselves alone, are the few who dare to resist that current. They don't adjust themselves to fit into the noise. They carve their own silence and let it speak. Many assume that people with few friends are socially awkward, shy, or somehow broken, but in truth, they are often simply unwilling to wear the masks that society demands. They refuse to dilute their truth just to be accepted. Think about how rare that is. To live without constantly shaping yourself to meet others' expectations. To be authentic today is almost an act of rebellion. Such people carry a different kind of strength, the kind that doesn't scream for validation, but stands steady in quiet confidence. They might not attract crowds, but they attract depth. Their conversations are not small talk, they are soul talk. Their smiles aren't practiced, they come from a place of peace. And when they choose silence, it isn't emptiness, it's clarity. Authenticity often costs connection because it filters the false ones away. It leaves behind only what's real. But this kind of solitude isn't loneliness, it's alignment. It's the peace that comes when you stop trying to be understood by everyone and start being understood by yourself. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Those who embrace solitude understand this deeply. Time alone becomes their teacher, their mirror, their forge. They learn to walk through the noise of the world and still hear their own voice clearly. These people don't chase trends or attention. They create their own rhythm, their own way of existing. There's something quietly magnetic about that, a kind of gravity that doesn't pull you in with force, but with authenticity. They remind us that sometimes standing alone is the most honest thing a person can do. And from that authenticity comes another powerful quality: independence. People who have few friends often develop a kind of emotional muscle that most never build. When there's no one to constantly lean on, you learn to lean on yourself. You stop looking outward for strength and begin to build it from within. Independence isn't about rejecting others, it's about not needing them to define your worth. Look around. How many people can't spend an evening alone without feeling restless? How many need to post their every move just to feel seen? The person who has learned to find peace in solitude doesn't crave attention because they've discovered something far more precious: self-trust. They make decisions without consulting a crowd. They solve their own problems not because they must, but because they can. They're not afraid to be misunderstood because their clarity comes from within, not from the opinions of others. And that kind of freedom is rare. In a society built on comparison, independence becomes a quiet act of liberation. It's the ability to say, "I am enough, even here, even now, even alone." And that's something the world desperately needs to hear. While others fill their lives with noise, Seeking validation and constant connection, the independent soul finds fulfillment in simplicity, in the still moments where they can just be. They aren't detached. They are deeply alive, deeply aware, deeply grounded. Their solitude isn't a prison. It's a sanctuary. It's not that they don't value relationships. It's that they no longer need them to survive. They love freely, not fearfully. They connect deeply, not desperately. And that difference changes everything. Because when you no longer depend on others for happiness, you stop clinging, you stop pretending, you stop compromising who you are, just to belong. Instead, you begin to attract people who meet you at your true frequency. Those rare souls who don't need to fix you, compete with you, or complete you. They simply walk beside you in understanding. That is the quiet power of those who have few friends. They are not weak. They are whole. From independence grows something even rarer: selectivity. People who have few friends are often misunderstood for being distant or cold. But beneath that calm exterior lies a quiet wisdom. They no longer give their energy to everyone who asks for it. They have learned, often through pain, that not every connection deserves a home in your heart. Selectivity isn't arrogance. It's awareness. It's knowing that energy is sacred, that every conversation, every bond, every moment spent with another person shapes the inner landscape of who you are. While many people collect friendships like trophies, the selective soul builds them like temples, carefully, intentionally, and with reverence. They do not keep people around to fill the silence. They embrace the silence itself until someone comes who adds to its peace rather than breaks it. You see, those who have walked through the loneliness of false friendships understand how heavy it feels to carry relationships that only drain you. They've been there, smiling in crowds, surrounded by people, yet feeling profoundly unseen. So they stopped chasing company and started choosing alignment. They no longer fear being alone because they've tasted the chaos of pretending to belong. And when you've known that kind of emptiness, solitude becomes a luxury. When such people open their hearts, it's not out of need, but out of truth. They don't want more friends. They want real ones. They are not searching for someone to fix them. They are seeking someone who speaks the same emotional language. That's why their social circles are small, but their bonds, when they exist, run deep. There's no performance, no pretense, just the quiet comfort of being understood without words. They live by a simple philosophy: better to walk alone in honesty than to be surrounded by those who only love your mask. Their friendships may be few, but they are sacred. Like rare gems hidden in a world of glitter, they shine not because they are many, but because they are real. And when you look closer, another light begins to emerge: introspection. In a noisy world where everyone is shouting to be heard, those who walk alone have mastered the art of listening to themselves. While others escape into distraction, they turn inward, into the vast territory of their own mind. It's not an easy journey, but it's an honest one. When you spend time alone, you begin to see yourself clearly: your fears, your desires, your patterns, your truths. You stop blaming the world and start understanding your role within it. You begin to see that silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. Most people fear that silence because it reflects back everything they've been avoiding. But the introspective soul embraces it. They sit with their discomfort, their doubt, their pain, until those shadows begin to teach them. It's in that solitude that the mind opens like a window to a deeper dimension. You start to notice patterns in life, the way your emotions rise and fall like tides, how your thoughts shape your reality, and how peace is something you create, not something you find. Marcus Aurelius once wrote that, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." Those who spend time alone have discovered that retreat. They've learned that when the outside world becomes too loud, you can always return home to yourself. They treat solitude not as punishment, but as sacred practice. They write, reflect, walk, breathe, and in those moments they meet themselves again. That's where clarity lives. That's where intuition grows. That's where they begin to hear life whisper what the noise of the world often drowns out. And perhaps that is the greatest hidden power of people who have few friends. They know themselves deeply. In knowing themselves, they begin to understand others without judgment. They recognize pain behind smiles, fear behind anger, loneliness behind pride, because they've met all those faces within their own reflection. Their solitude becomes a source of compassion, not bitterness. It makes them gentler, wiser, and more human. But the journey doesn't end there. From authenticity, independence, selectivity, and introspection arises the final and most beautiful trait: growth. A lack of friends doesn't always mean lack of connection. Sometimes it means that your growth has outpaced the world around you. You no longer fit where you once belonged. You no longer find comfort in small talk or in shallow company. You crave meaning, not noise. This kind of growth doesn't come easily. It's often born in moments of quiet pain, nights where you question your worth, days where you feel invisible, seasons where no one seems to understand you. But over time, you begin to see the gift hidden in it. Every lonely hour becomes a lesson in resilience. Every silence becomes a mirror of self-discovery. Every disappointment becomes the soil in which strength takes root. You start to realize that isolation can be transformation in disguise. You are not being punished by life. You are being prepared for something greater. Like a seed buried in darkness, you are growing roots before you rise. And when you do rise, you carry a wisdom that can't be taught by books or crowds. You begin to see life from a higher place, not superior, but expanded. You recognize patterns others can't see. You understand that everything, even solitude, serves a purpose in the grand rhythm of your becoming. As Seneca once said, resistance is the training ground of virtue. When life strips away the noise and leaves you alone, it also leaves you face to face with yourself, and that is where true strength is born. Those who walk alone eventually learn that the goal was never to escape loneliness. It was to become so whole within that even solitude feels like company. They stop trying to find belonging in others and begin to find it in existence itself. The wind becomes their companion, the night sky, their confidant, the quiet heartbeat of life, their reminder that they were never truly alone to begin with. And maybe that's the deepest truth of all. Solitude is not emptiness. It's presence. The presence of your soul, unfiltered, undistracted, unafraid. So if you ever feel that your circle is small, that your world is quiet, remember this. Perhaps it's because your soul has outgrown the noise. You are not missing out. You are tuning in. And now, if this message has found you, if something in these words feels like it was written for you, then maybe it's because it was. Because you, too, might be one of those rare souls who has always felt slightly out of sync with the world. The one who watches instead of rushes, who feels too deeply, who sees what others overlook. Maybe you've been told that being alone means something is wrong with you, that you're too quiet, too independent, too different. But here's the truth. What they call too much is often exactly what the world needs more of. Sensitivity is not a flaw, it's perception. Depth is not heaviness, it's wisdom. And solitude is not the absence of love, it's where love begins. When you stop fearing your own company, something incredible happens. You stop chasing people who don't see you. You stop trying to prove your worth. You stop begging for crumbs of attention and start sitting at your own table. You begin to choose peace over performance, truth over approval, and meaning over popularity. There's a quiet kind of magic in that, a calm power that doesn't need to shout to be felt. You begin to walk differently. Your silence becomes strength. Your boundaries become sacred. You stop waiting to be invited and realize you were never meant to fit in. You were meant to stand apart, to see further, to feel deeper, to remind the world that connection isn't measured by numbers but by truth. So if your circle is small, let it be sacred. If your phone stays silent, let your mind stay alive. If your path feels lonely, trust that it's leading you exactly where you're meant to be. The ones who walk alone often arrive first at places others are too afraid to go, within themselves. And when you meet someone who carries that same quiet energy, that same sense of depth, you'll recognize each other instantly. Because solitude teaches you to see not with your eyes, but with your soul. So don't rush to fill the empty spaces. Let them breathe. Let them shape you. Let them remind you that not all who are alone are lost. Some are simply becoming. And if these words have resonated with the rhythm of your heart, if they've reminded you that your solitude is sacred, not shameful, then this space, this community, was created for you. Like this video, if it spoke to you. Share it with someone who needs to remember their own strength. And subscribe to Heartsync X, where every word is a mirror for the soul. Every message a reminder that you are not alone in your quiet depth. Until next time, walk gently, feel deeply, and never forget, your solitude is not your weakness. It's your superpower.